Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? It is Thursday, July 4th. Happy Independence Day, July 4th, to our friends, neighbors, family, and cousins south of that 49th parallel. Welcome back, grannies and gators, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone alike. It's going to be an interesting show tonight. You're going to want to make sure that you get this one out there. There's going to be some breaking news and some bombshells. We're going to start with we talked about a couple of nights ago. It was actually, let's see here. It was on Tuesday. A couple of days ago, Trudeau's sedition cabinet, liberal implosion. We broke it down as to where the sacrificial political lamb season was beginning. And there's a bunch of names that we can now add to that list, that growing list. This is just where we're going to start. These sycophantic lunatics and psychopaths are hell bent on destroying our country. And we're going to look at some more of those shenanigans and some major bombshell announcements made today. So, first thing I wanted to take a quick look at here, guys, was back to the other one there. Make sure that you guys are subscribed here on Substack, or pardon me, Rumble. You'll find in the bottom of the links in any of the shows the links to the other places. Make sure you get, above all, subscribed. Hit that little bell over on the far side there. Make sure you hit that bell too, because it's going to get brutal really, really soon with Trudeau's announcement, or pardon me, the Liberal Party announcement today. So this is where we're going to start. You guys have probably heard a little bit about Bill C-63. This article goes back to March 8th of this year, where they were already aware of this at the National Post. Some of us have been chirping about this for a while. As we're being beaten over the heads with Bills C-11 and C-18, we're going to dive tonight more specifically into Bill C-63. Guys, there's been an absolute purpose behind the pressure that I've been putting on everybody to get subscribed over on Rumble and Substack. Please, please, please get subscribed over on Rumble and Substack. We're gonna this show tonight. What I'm going to be breaking out here is going to make everybody's hair on the back of their necks stand up. And I'm sorry, I'm probably going to cost a lot of people some sleep tonight, but I literally see my digital assassin coming. When I say they're going to have gulags for us, I'm not being melodramatic or exaggerating. So let's take a look at what Bill 63 is, C-63, and we're going to talk about, or look at some opinions on it from outside. So this isn't just me being a Chicken Little screaming the sky is falling. No, 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 guys. This is time to buckle up. Buckle up, bear down, make sure that other people that still want some semblance of freedom wake up to what's coming down the pipe, and it's here. So we're going to start with this article from Christine Van Guyen. Forgive me, Christine, but under Bill C-63, an online comment could cost you thousands. Hate speech penalty in proposed online harms law exposes Canadians to costly legal fees and up to $50,000 in fines. Let's focus on these two words here as the bottom line. Three words, pardon me, sorry, the online harms law. This is what it's all going to connect back to, guys, and I'm going to take you on a walk back through this. It's going to take you directly to the United Nations website's pages, and exactly the same edicts under the UNSDA, that quote unquote non-binding agreement that every one of our political parties has signed on to. This is the result. When they signed that, this is the result. This is what's coming. And we're going to hear what the what the mainstream media, even people in the mainstream media, and this is what I want to make a point of here. Personally, I consider the mainstream media as hired assassins. They are hired to destroy truth and people. People die as a result of that. Many people have died. So I consider them hired assassins, mercenaries, mockingbird mercenaries, because they all repeat each other over and over and over and over again, right? But we're starting to see a sway and a shift. And this is, we really need to connect the baseline dots on how this is coming and where it's coming from. Because if we don't get in front of this, guys, everything that we have ever known and will ever know is going to change dramatically. So, this online harms law that we're going to dig into here are coming into policy. Coming into policy. Now, understanding just earlier this week, I showed you guys where we are being downgraded here in Canada on our human rights record. And this is all going to tie together really soon, guys. Get your notepads out. So, the UN Human Rights Committee has been threatening Canada. It's been multiple posts. We covered that the other night. Go back to one of the shows. You'll find the links below. We're being downgraded on our poor human rights. Well, now, according to MLI, weaponizing human rights tribunals um, for inside policy. If adopted, this is what he is suggesting, is that the Bill C-63 could unleash a wave of hate speech complaints that would persecute and prosecute citizens, businesses, or organizations while stifling online expression. Okay, right, guys? This bill, this is what these guys are saying. McDonald Laurier is where this article comes from. And as always, um, that the challenge is this new online harms law, Bill C-63, absolutely crushes um, any of our charter rights, any of our Bill of Rights. Geez, I forgot to do that. Sorry, guys, I missed the button. This is what you guys should be seeing from McDonald Laurier. This is the June 20th, just a couple of weeks ago, um, stating that this is absolute insanity. Published July 4th. Oh, there we go. No, that's today's date. This was published June 2024. It'll be in the Substack. Excuse me if I'm a little frazzled. I slid into the chair at the last second after pretending to be a mechanic the whole afternoon. So I got my man card back and forgot my computer brain outside in the toolbox. So I'll get into the swing of things here, but it's all going to connect here. It's all going to connect. So according to the McDonald Laurier Institute, this Bill 63 is weaponizing human rights tribunals. And this is what we've been telling people from the beginning. Anybody can suggest that you were thinking about saying something bad online, and you can, it's absolutely, when you read through the bill, and we're going to get to that, it's absolutely makes what happened in, in any point in human history that you can relate to absolutely unfathomable. Unfathomable. Now, this is where we're going to explain where this all connects to here right now to the breaking news. So I'm building up a little bit of the backstory and the understanding. So as people have known that since March, this bill is coming. They've been pushing it through the House. We still have this unholy alliance born in Hades between Singh and Trudeau. And we already know that the Trudeau dumpster fire is unstoppable at this point. He's absolutely refusing to meet with his caucus, and they're now hosting meetings without him. So we are literally seeing our government implode real time, by the day, by the moment. And when you take a look at just some of these names here, now these are people that not necessarily in the sedition caucus, but some of them have left incredibly damning statements of culpability against this prime minister and what he's involved in, particularly John McKay. Look at his resignation speech. We've got, there's a whole mess of them, right? They're just not coming back. So meanwhile, Trudeau marches on. He's still got work to do. And this is what I'm trying to point out to you folks out there, is that when Trudeau says that he's still got work to do, it's this. It's this Bill C-63. This is the linchpin of what his whole point and purpose of being in office in Canada, in achieving his World Economic Forum Fourth Reich objectives, hinge on this fulfillment of the UNSDA document. I'm going to change up what I intended to show you guys here, but I'm going to pull it up a little bit earlier here. So this is the UN 2030 agenda. If you guys don't know this, we are guilty. You are partly guilty. Within this site is a page called Actions for a Just Society. And when you go further down that page, you will find the Media Compact, Sustainable Development Goals Media Compact. And when you click on that, and I will make sure that all of this is in my Substack tomorrow, guys. We need to know the path to the crime. We are literally connecting the dots to the crime that I'm about to show you that is the breaking news. And then I'm going to explain some things that are critically important for us to understand in 2024 moving forward. It is the time where we have to hold every want to be political representative in the next coming elections, because they're going to come fast. We have to make sure we hold their feet to the fire before they get into office. We've been doing a lot of work in the last week covering and explaining how we can do that, how we can be preemptive, how we can force while they're paying attention before they get elected. They're only paying attention before they get elected, not after. This is critical to understand. We need to focus our energy and our efforts and our energy into things that will bear fruit. Now, we're seeing a lot of results in a lot of different ways. Now is the time to compound those and multiply those. But this is something we need to know and understand coming into what Bill C-63 is. And if I'm not mistaken, it's in the Senate. So this means that the Meat Muppet, the young global leaders that have penetrated the cabinet are going to be looking to complete this mission before they get booted out of office. If you guys want they tell us what they're doing. They always tell us what we're doing, but we don't, enough of us go and look at what they tell us they're doing and understand it so that we can fight back. And it's critical now more than ever. So this is the SDG Media Compact, which leads the charge to the Online Harms Act, which is the Bill C-63, which hasn't received royal assent yet, as far as I know. And so it's not really law yet, but they're banking on it becoming law. Got something in my eye. They're banking on it becoming law, and they're setting the budget. They announced the budget today. It got published today. So this is the breaking news part, guys. The Online Harms Act, establishment of a digital safety commission, ombudsperson, and office. An entirely brand new constituency of bureaucracy has been given a budget. And in this particular budget, when I read through it, it's $201 million. $201 million minus any possible administrative, monetary penalties, fines, and/or regulatory charges collected by the Commission, Ombudsman, and Office. But it's interesting to note in here where they do talk about this being a revenue generation model, and they cannot project how much money this is going to make yet. But this is the breakdown on what they're going to spend over the next 5 years, $201 million. And they're going to hire 330 members of this Stazi brigade of online enforcement uh, for this new bureaucracy. So this is the breaking news is this announcement of this budget. So I've given you just basically the bottom line of it. The PDF is here. I will also include that in the Substack tomorrow. So this is the implementation, or pardon me, the announcement of the funding for the implementation of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the actions for just society. And I really, really encourage you people to you folks out there to just go and read just even these pages and look at the language. Look at the language in print that they're using. The fluff, the word, what they think. It's horrible. It's horrible, but they mean it to be so fluffy and utopian. It's wonderful. They're building the reset. They're preparing for the great reset that dear Justin is foistering the demolition work beforehand that they can build back better. So this is the part that we have to understand is that these goals, these goals, every single major political party has contractually obligated themselves to this agenda. So at this point, they are literally only arguing we're electing who gets to steal our wallets next to implement the contractual obligations of the 17 points of the UNSDA uh, so that they can, build back better. It's all about the act now. Act now. You hear them talking about that. They have to act now. They have to act now. They have to act now, right? So back to where does this connect with human rights and Bill C-63 and the UNSDA, the Sustainable Development Agenda, establishing a new regulator for online harms law will take some time, Minister says. So this guy's a champion and says this is only going to take, it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. But they're gonna get started and they're gonna get into it. And if I go back to the other page there, and there was the breakdown in the budget. Um, it tells us where the bulk of the spending. This is what he means. It's going to take a little time. It's going to so over between this year and next, they're only going to spend $5 million, and that's going to be building the infrastructure that they're going to need for these officers to pay their wages. These new 330 social credit clone troopers. They will be expanding and growing and needing more. So this is where by this time next year then they're going to be in gear, right? So the point I'm making here out of this part is that by the time this really kicks into gear, is going to be kind of the similar time frame from when they implemented Bill C-18 to where now I'm banned from streaming on Facebook. I'm censored to the extreme, like North Korea, literally, right? And they're going to need a new commission, uh, a new bureaucracy, and this is going to involve the Human Rights Commission, and then that's where we start to get into a problem, because we're always wondering where do they get these guys? Where do they get these guys? And in this case, as of just a few days ago, our newly appointed Canadian Human Rights Commissioner has made a statement that they found rather disturbing. Right now, this you got to realize that this is a liberal cabinet appointment that made a statement. We're already being downgraded at the human rights level to a B, which means we don't have access to a voice in the United Nations anymore when it comes to anything to talk about human rights. What did the guy say? Well, terror is not an irrational strategy. hmm And oh, don't worry, he got lectured a little bit. It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be all right. Don't worry, nothing to see here in Canada, folks. Nothing to see in Canada, right? Well, even the Atlantic, which is almost as far left into the stratosphere of Marxist clone trooper traveling, has made some very, very bold statements as to what this attack on free speech is all about, right? Uh, a bill making its way through the parliament would impose draconian criminal penalties on hate speech and curtails people's liberty in order to stop crimes they haven't even yet committed. Does anybody out there think that somebody like myself, for example, or Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson, or Shadow Davis, or even you, is not going to be guilty of this, thinking opposites to what the government wishes? How far back does this go? Is this retroactive, this shit? They haven't even decided what online harms is. They are literally taking the law verbatim from the United Nations online harms bill that they're trying to stuff down the throats of Europe, which is part of the reason why Europe is very quickly dumping this progressive psychopathy. But in 1984, George Orwell coined the term thought crime. In the short story, The Minority Report, science fiction author Philip Dick gave us the concept of pre crime. That one kind of messed some people up, Minority Report, describing a society where would be criminals would be arrested before they act. This is Bill C 63, folks. It's no longer science fiction fantasy. It is here, it is on the table, and it has been budgeted. They're telling us what they're doing. Isn't that interesting that they've announced the budget? They're going through the motions, but it's not even law yet. Somebody please help me, even in the most crazy sense, make that make sense as any form of democracy. I'd like to know how anybody could justify that. Start spending the money before you've even got the law. It's pretty confident in the midst of a political dumpster fire for all parties, right? So now Canada is combining the concepts in a world of dystopian nonfiction. One crazy idea isn't enough. They're combining them. A bill making its way through Parliament, right? Blah, 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 blah. The Online Harms Act, and I'll make sure that link is out there again as well for everybody, states that any person who advocates for or promotes genocide is liable for imprisonment for life. It defines lesser hate crimes as including online speech that is likely to foment detestation or vilification. I call you a bad guy. I think you're evil. I think you're dark and you need to be locked up. I just committed an online harms if I add a name to that, literally, and that's enough by their justification. If I say it on the basis for race, religion, gender, or any protected categories. So this is for the protected classes, those that they deem as the protected classes. And if someone fears they may become a victim of hate crime, they may become. So someone might say something bad about me. Oh no, I better go press charges and get them locked up. They can go before a judge who may summon the preemptively accused for a sort of pre crime trial. If the judge finds reasonable grounds for the fear, the defendant must enter into a reconnaissance. Like this is, I mean, this isn't even conspiracy theory anymore, right? I mean, when it's introduced in law, and you've got people like this lady screaming from the mountaintops about this, Do y'all know who this lady is? Michelle Rempel Garner? This is where the surveillance bans might come for me, guys. This is going to be a risky one to get out there. Absolutely, old Saucy, the brazen treason blows my mind too. And anybody who works with the UNWF, absolutely 100%, I agree, is guilty. Um, Countersignal, that's Kean Bexley report C63 already cost or will cost 200 million next 5 years. Yeah, 201 to be more accurate, but that's pretty close. Yeah. I hope there's a real special place for them guys. All right, we're going to get into this here now because this is going to be a bit of a shift for you guys. Do you know who Michelle Rampel Garner is? Well, we're gonna get a little bit of a one-on-one introduction. You guys are gonna get to know Michelle a little bit better. I personally, I used to fall for the charade. I do not anymore. I am a firm believer that both sides of the party um, are filled with paid actors who have handlers that are doing what's best for them, and they believe that there is no stopping the World Economic Forum Fourth Reich and Klaus Schwab's organization, his syndicate, his mafia, and the United Nations are going to conquer Canada. They're all a part of the divvying up process, and we're going to take a look at who I would call, uh, yeah, uh, yeah, yeah. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper look at Michelle, and I'm going to leave it up for people to decide. But here's the part of this is when it comes to the astroturfing and the gaslighting and the controlled opposition, this is where this is a really great, the best example in the world that I could ever come up with. This landed to me. When you guys get through this next little bit, you're going to understand those terms so much clearer. And so when people accuse me of being controlled opposition, or somebody that says something they don't like is controlled opposition, just kind of giggle and say, yeah, okay, and carry on. It's not worth the squabble. But we're going to listen to Michelle Rempel Garner, who immediately took to the airwaves after finding out about this budget being posted and made public, as she so frequently does. Um, I have never given her any form or measure of credit on this platform. In fact, quite the opposite. When I discovered she had spent something like a dozen years working at the Winnipeg Biolab, and her name was actually on the patents for a bunch of the ventilators out there. But all of that aside, my issue with her was in knowing that, not that didn't know. Once I discovered that, I was upset, but I needed to dig more in that. But that's when I really started to question what she was arguing in Parliament. Um, with having that kind of knowledge, expertise, and background, you would have thought that perhaps she would have questioned some of the safety, some of the efficacy, some of the mad dash into that bioweapons program. But no, her only argument as shadow health critic was, why wasn't Trudeau getting more jabs faster for everybody? That was, he was being, preferential. He was, being accused of cronyism because his friends got the injections first, and that was basically all she ever argued in Parliament. She questioned the scientists like the rest of the good party dolts did, but she would have had absolute expertise to be able to ask the right questions. But by knowing what the right questions would have been, I believe she also knew, personally, it's just my belief. And we're going to tell you, you guys are going to get to know a lot about Michelle here tonight. And I encourage you to make your own decisions and look up your own research and dig deeper. But I would have thought she would have had better expertise to ask about that. But we're going to digress to where it's importance today and where she has served herself up, in my opinion, on a bit of a platter cannot stomach to play this entire video for you. It's only about 7 minutes long, but I'm going to play the last minute or so because she does ask an important question, and this is actually about Bill C-63. But the first thing I wanted for me is I wanted everybody to see this face of Michelle first. This was intended to be kind of clipped off right at the beginning, and then she puts on her work face. See the transition right there. Okay. But now we're going to carry to the one point that I wanted you guys to catch out of this, where she calls out um, a very important point that you guys need to hear her say first.
The article says government spokespeople must, quote, correct Canadians' thinking, says a report by the Treasury Board of Canada.
The Treasury Board of Canada must correct people's thinking.
So you've got all of the thousands of government staff that the mandate that they have is to correct your thinking. What does that mean? What does that mean, right? It's censorship, guys. So today, look at the cost of and how many bureaucrats the Liberals are going to hire for their censorship bureaucracy, their wasteful, unnecessary censorship bureaucracy. Share that article, click subscribe, and share this video so that the work that we're doing to uncover this, to unearth what they're doing, it can be shared loudly, shared widely, so the Canadians know that we have to get rid of this government as soon as possible. Working hard for you. Click subscribe and share this video. Have a great day.
So now we're going to get to the next point. And this is, again, just introducing you to who Michelle Rempel is. During the course of that video, I found it interesting that on 8 different occasions, she told you to join, to subscribe, to subscribe, to subscribe. Where is she telling you to subscribe to is her Substack, where she has over 76,000 followers on her Substack. And when you click on the link in anything that she posts, it takes you, it asks you to pledge your support, which I kind of found interesting. Um, I just wanted to share that. When you click on any of her follow links, it asks you to pledge your support. Everything is pledge your support. So this is what her Substack looks like. Asking for her support to be pledged. Well, what is that? What does it cost to pledge your support? About $80 a year. So I don't know, but doing the math on that, if the way she working hard for you, 7 minutes of panic, 8 times to go subscribe. I have no idea, but I think it would be interesting to know how much money she could possibly be making bank off of people's generosity for being a journalist rather than doing her job. I mean, where do her priorities lie? So we're going to take a little bit of a look as to how Michelle describes herself on her Substack. She talks about this is she writes all of the content herself here, no talking points, no speech writers. She highlights issues that don't get attention they deserve, mainstream does. So she's kind of leading the pack through her Substack, which is kind of under the books. I don't know if they have to disclose their side hustles on anything like that, but if 70,000 of those 76,000 chose to pay her $80 a year, um, I would be pretty confident in having a side hustle. But let's look at how she describes herself here. Michelle's perspectives are thought provoking and unique, and so is her life experience. A polymath, Michelle has become known in different fields for challenging the status quo, building consensus, breaking glass ceilings, and making the impossible happen. I think it's important for people to know these people, right? Presently, Michelle is a Canadian member of parliament. She's a talented political strategist, fundraiser, and communicator. No doubt, right? She has been elected 4 times. 4 times. So we've been paying her wages for 4 terms, right? Diverse urban riding and wide margins of victory. In government, Michelle held the position of Minister of State for Western Economic Diversification. What does that even mean? And Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of the Environment. The Minister of the Environment. Well, we know how that went over the last 10 years or 12 years or so since she's been in office. So we do know for a fact that her stamp is in there somewhere. I haven't looked where yet, but interesting to get to know her, right? When she was appointed to the executive of the Canadian government, Michelle was the youngest female cabinet minister in Canadian history. She's a rock star, right? And make no mistake, I would introduce anybody from any political party when they become a part of things that need to be discussed as news rather than nonsense. And this is where we're at. So this is not a hit piece on Michelle. This is just using what's public information out there and bringing it to people's attention so they can understand what we're really getting into coming into the next election. Bill C-63 isn't our only problem. Neither are the Liberals. So, in opposition, Michelle has served as the shadow minister and vice chair for the House of Commons standing committees on natural resources, health and industry, and economic development and immigration, refugees, and citizenship. This lady has had a lot of access, shall we say, right? She has accomplished much during her time in office and is particularly proud of the work she has done on the behalf of vulnerable groups. Okay, okay. She is also a member of the King's Privy Council for Canada. If that doesn't raise the hair on the back of your neck, when it comes to any politician in Canada, if you don't know these people that sit on the King's Privy Council, you ought to, right? Prior to entering public service, Michelle served in a senior role at two of Canada's top research universities and managed hundreds of millions of dollars of sponsored research revenue and intellectual property. Interesting. Those would be some things that you would want to highlight if you were giving out your resume. I only knew of one. Interesting. I only knew of one piece of intellectual property. Perhaps all of the ventilators that went across the country, somebody made bank on. I don't know. She's an enterprising lady. Also has experience as a management consultant. So Michelle holds a degree in economics. Imagine that. Among her many honors, she has been named one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women by the Women's Executive Network, one of Calgary's top 40 under 40, one of Alberta's 50 most influential people, and 3 times named a Canadian Parliamentarian of the Year. Wow. Wow. Pretty good resume in the club, hey? Right? This is a part that I have issue with is, some of what I personally see as conflict. A prolific social media influencer. Gee, didn't we talk about influencers the other day and how much money they make? Yeah, bank. Michelle has amassed large followings on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Her writing has been published in high profile publications, and she now writes here. Early in life, Michelle was an accomplished pianist. As a hobby, Michelle earned a designation as a certified sommelier and enjoys sport shooting and riding her horse. Michelle is the wife of a decorated U.S. Army combat veteran, a stepmother to 3 children, and personal assistant to the world's most spoiled Shih Tzu. She makes her home here in the electoral district she represents in north central Calgary. So that's a little bit of Michelle Rempel, and would basically explain underneath the veneer of it all, underneath of the working hard for you in Ottawa. If you go to uh, the holistic search engine over on Foundational Political Pledge, now you'll maybe understand why she gets a no. She's failing. She won't take part as a representative of the people through the simple pledge that they ask politicians to make to represent, just to the simple things to agree upon in our country, right? So we've literally got somebody that thinks terror is okay. becoming appointed to the Human Rights Commission. We've got the Human Rights Commission that's being looked at in the international community and told to sit down at the back table and shut up. You don't get to talk here anymore. And these guys literally being able to collectively wage gene- arbitrary persecution upon a population for merely thinking or potentially or possibly thinking about something. Um, and we have, so I'm going to add this in the Substack tomorrow morning as well, guys. But this is a copy of the debates on June 7th. So these guys, I mean, they have jobs to do, and she makes some a really good statement, and there's a lot to unpack in here, but I'm going to break it down to a couple of real quick points. But I wanted everybody to have access to this speech that she gave in Parliament on June 7th, so we can kind of start to put together a timeline. Right, June 7th, she does this. Exactly a month later, she jumps all over the hype train, and she's warning the world about this bill. Well, great, Michelle. Thank you. Thank you for doing that now. But I think that you've made enough money off of doing this along the way. But that's just, at $80 a year, my opinion. I think I have 13 people subscribed to my Substack at $80 a year. But Michelle she's doing okay. But now to Bill C-63, some of the things that she talks about in this, a couple of the high points, right? Then I'm going to break out of that you guys can find deeper into her speech. But the bill ends up unable to prevent online harassment is likely to impinge on the rights and freedoms of Canadians. That's kind of a big takeaway. You don't need to read the rest of it. She breaks down in here basically what I've shown you here in the last half hour. And another point that I wanted to bring up out of that same article is to put a magnitude of this issue in perspective. Bill C-63's new unnecessary bureaucracy will cost the equivalent of 204 police officers. Given the explosion of crime in our country, I think most Canadians would much prefer having 204 more police officers than 330 new Stazi officers to put me in jail for something I might have thought or I might be thinking, and I might consider posting on social media because we wouldn't want to offend the international rules based order, and we must come into compliance with the 2030 agenda, and pick up the Bible and pledge our allegiance to the act now strategy that we need to get into compliance for the ESG, so that the banks will be happy with how they have educated us to come under the ESG compliance that we talked about in absolute depth on last night's show, Mystery Night to the Mailbag. Isn't that fortuitous, guys? We really broke out how the ESG is connected to the financial sector and the World Economic Forum and a whole bunch of NGOs and things that people are committed to that they really should not be committed to. So there's a whole bunch going on right now, guys. So for me, it's everything that I can do and I can give you guys comes out published on the Substack the next day. So there are Substacks from Tuesday to Saturday and shows at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And this is where I'm able to bring you guys all of the all of the documents, all of the things that um, I share, like I did tonight, will be there, like they are here, um, and everybody can carry on. But I definitely hit that thumb underneath whatever platform it is that you're watching from. This only works if we all do this together, guys. Um, I hope that I have saved you guys many hours of trying to sort and sift through what all of this is every week. Now, 5 days a week. If you find value in what we're doing here, what I'm doing here, this is just the beginning, guys. It's just the beginning. The days of accountability are coming. They're coming quickly, but we absolutely need your help to keep going right now. There's never going to be a shortage of causes and uh, activism, but we are us journalists. If I haven't shown you the mortal danger that we are in right here, right now, given just please, please read this. Read this, understand what they are planning to do. They're going to come for me. And once they've got me, they're absolutely going to come for you. So, right now, every dime we get goes back into doing this for you. So, I personally don't believe any better investment in pushing back against the implementation of this insanity is by supporting your favorite preferred journalist, even if it's not me. If it is me, great. That's how you can help me the very most right now. But in the meantime, it's the shares, the likes. I wish, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I think I don't believe ignorance leads to bliss. If we don't know what's going on and what's coming and how it's connected, there's no way that we can fight other things that are coming down the pipe. So we can't fix it if we can't see it. Now we can see it. Now we can see it all the way back to the United Nations, where this is again policy being dreamt up, manifested in Switzerland, in Sweden, in Davos, in Geneva, and there's another story that's just breaking out about this, and I'll pull this up. I wasn't really going to talk about this, but tonight. So this is kind of for a future slide, but Leslie Lewis has been kind of busting Chrystia Freeland's chops about her trip to Davos and why she spent an exorbitant amount of money to go and hang out and discuss policy with unelected foreign bureaucrats. In other words, Klaus's henchmen in Davos. She is one of the most top three evil people in our country, masquerading as managers of this post nation state called Canada. So I'll bring up more on that, but this is, just more of a connection. What is she doing in Davos in January that she spent 100 and some odd $1,000 of your taxpayer money on and burned up a bazillion carbon credits to go and sit there and hang out with closest henchmen for? To discuss Bill C-63, to discuss the rapid implementation of this. If y'all remember, the top 2 points that they got out of Davos this year was rebuilding trust. So that means, like the National Post there right early on that I showed you guys. Yeah, we're seeing more more acts of journalism where people are seeing what appears to be CBC throwing Trudeau under the bus. Like what is happening. This is all that's the part of the rebuilding trust, and the other part of it is because censorship and propaganda only work hand in hand. One does not work without the other. So while we have the propaganda describing and setting the tone of the narrative, we must have the censorship that goes with it too. It's a two-headed beast, censorship and propaganda. This is the deception of the World Economic Forum's Fourth Reich. It's the deception of Satan. It's the only tool monsters and evil have. This is, whether you believe in good or evil or not, is the only word in my language to describe the depths of depravity and horrors that they want to manifest on the destruction of our societies so that they can build it back better in their utopian Orwellian image. And this is our time. This is our time to get it right, figure out where the evil it is. I showed y'all on Monday how to take it out. Localism is the 100% safe and effective cure for this globalism. We start by removing all of these parties, replacing them with independents that we build from the ground up. Stop playing their reindeer flying monkey games, and we can absolutely fix this year. Because if we don't, I am mortally af- mortally afraid. That would be bad news. That would be scary stuff, EMP, right? So I like the way you put that, old saucy. Exactly. She went right to the Viper's Den to get orders. This is 100% straight up communism. It's something I broke down a little bit, last night. If you look back through the cycles of history, geopolitics, war, propaganda, all of these things that change the scope of our recorded history. This has always gone on. This has been an endless cycle of good versus evil. Evil, typically, when there's an advancement in technology, whether it was the first bad guys that um, figured out spears, they were the first ones to attack other people, probably. And from there, the first ones to figure out bows and arrows were the first ones to attack other people. The first one to figure out guns, absolutely, were attacked other people first. Right all the way up through cannons, every measure of warfare for the last 1,000 years. As soon as one side figures out an advantage, they use it in the form of conquest until both sides have a parity, the same ability, and then we get peace. So, this is why, for the most part, the last 100 years we have kind of had peace, because there was an extreme parity in the world. The what were world wars were financial endeavors. Blow it up, fix it, get paid for both, which is their wash, rinse, repeat, which they're trying to do again with World War III. But again, this is our opportunity to get in front of it all by understanding and knowing where we have to, make the incision, where we have to make the exorcism. And it's people like, Christopher Freeland and, getting busted and things like this. This is how we beat them, by everybody knowing, and understanding how they genuinely believe that they're doing the right thing in destroying Canada, because they are setting the field for a better tomorrow under Klaus's vision and the Great Reset and Build Back Better. This is why it's so hard for us to grasp. They're not incompetent. There is nothing incompetent about these people. They're actually incredibly smart, but they are also the most incredibly devoted, programmed disciples of the most evolved psychological cult and syndicate on the planet. They are loyal. They are loyal. But here, Miss Freeland, uh, Miss Chomiak originally, getting caught spending $600 million in pension funds, your pension funds, have been found invested in electronic vehicle sector in China. I'm sure that's really what every Canadian wants to hear and know, that your pensions are invested in China today. These are the people in clown world that it's time for us to excise. So, unfortunate for the piling on of the current events as they come, but this is how the only. I mean, unfortunately, I'm kind of a firm believer in rip the band-aid off. Does no good to sit on it. We need to know and look and understand what real gaslighting is, what real controlled opposition is, what real propaganda is, what real censorship is, and understand that Bill 63 is literally the gates slamming shut on any form of ever having public discourse in Canada ever again. And we are this micro close, folks, this micro close to being a far more dark and cold country than anybody could ever have possibly imagined and dreamt. So that's the end of it today, guys. If you want to know the way out of that, refer back to Monday's show. Um, it's not that they're closing in from all sides, the tower is collapsing and they are retreating into their safe havens. They think they can save their agenda here in Canada. They think they got us far enough down the yellow brick road through their programming and acceptance and subservience. We were nice enough, we were polite enough, we said sorry enough, we complied enough that they are regrouping to their last bastion of control. And unfortunately for us, and this is where we have to hold the Conservative Party to account, before we give them a vote, they need to have us out of the UNSDA. Every United Nations organization, bill, non-binding agreement with the World Economic Forum or the United Nations must be ended immediately. That is the only way really out of this. And it's got to be done immediately. So we've got to do that. We've got to force them to talk about that now while they're listening, because if we give them the office, they're not going to listen. They don't listen after they've got the office, right? Exactly. They absolutely know what they're doing. There's some manufactured destabilization. I've been screaming that term since 2020. January of 2020, the night of the Brexit countdown. I laid it out for folks, guys, and we are there. We are absolutely there. But I love you guys all. I am optimistic moving forward because we are absolutely getting more and more organized, more and more coordinated, more and more on the same wavelength of understanding. Their side is never going to get stronger. They don't have people flocking to their side. We do every single day. And this is where we have to educate our people, meet them where they're at when they want to join us, when they're curious, when they're asking questions, not scold them, not berate them, not insult them, welcome them where they are. Good, better, otherwise. If they're curious and genuinely want to know, use your ears, meet them with where they're at. Don't drown them with a fire hose. Give them a gold nugget. They will come back to you if you are not overbearing, if you are not trying to drown them in information and convince them. Don't try to convince them. Just give them a gold nugget, lead them in a direction to safety, give them the old breadcrumb treatment, and they will come to you because they trust you that you won't shatter their world image. Have a little bit of dignity and grace with the people that are trying to wake up. We oftentimes deter them from that possibility, and that shatters our opportunity. But we are still winning. We are still winning. So that is my best sage advice for tonight. As always, tomorrow night, guys, Friday, 6 p.m. Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. It is Bankers, Bandits, Bullion, and Bucks with Bryce, where we get our financial whisperer who helps people get their financial things out of a government access. They're just helping people protect themselves from the overreach that is about to come with the collapse. Lots of that going on. Get your money out of the banking systems, guys. It's a big tower, and it is about to come down real hard. We've covered so much of the foundation of these stories that kind of tonight is the icing on the cake, the straw that should break the camel's back in a lot of ways. But more than anything, connect the dots back to the United Nations. Understand what both parties are contractually obligated to. I'm not making this junk up, guys. Just showed you the path. It'll all be there in the Substack tomorrow. I love y'all. Stay mighty, stay strong, my fellow hostages and patriots. We will absolutely see you here, same time, same place tomorrow. But take the time to ask me a question sometime about my other allies, your allies too.